Before we end this podcast, we have trial with Sheriff Glen Hill on the 19th. We'll update everybody on what's going on. We're going to do a whole entire podcast before the 19th to let everybody know the details. But I'll tell you the gist of it. These people are corrupt. I'm supposed to have a jury trial in circuit court, and they're cherry picking what the jury should hear. Now I'm not even having a jury trial. I'm having a bench trial, and the judge is not going to hear the whole entire case. I mean, in this case, you will literally have the sheriff, every deputy, come out and say something completely different from the other deputy. They said what they said in general district court. In circuit court they said something completely different. I mean, they've lied about everything. They're contradicting each other, and they're so terrified that they don't want the jury to hear the contradiction. And I'm not even getting a jury trial. I'm getting a bench trial. The point is, we'll do a full podcast about how every deputy is lying, and I'm not getting my due process in circuit court. I'll tell you, I'm going to appeal it. I'm going to appeal it to a higher court, and we're going to make sure to hold Sheriff Glen Hill accountable. I mean, I'm on public property. I'm not being disruptive. I'm not being disorderly. That's according. I have a video that shows exactly that, but that's according to the sheriff himself. Sheriff Glen Hill in General District Court, he comes on the stand and he says, Amar is not being disorderly. Amar is not being disruptive. Amar is on public property. I had no idea he was being arrested. And he blames his deputy. His deputy comes out and he says, I didn't know. I was just following orders. I'm doing what the sheriff is telling me. I just showed up after the fact. I'm doing what the sheriff is telling me. I mean, they're contradicting each other. At the end of the day, I'm on public property. They admit that it's public property. I'm not bothering anybody. It's on video that I'm not disruptive. I'm not disorderly. I'm literally sitting there recording a video. I mean, and now they're cherry picking the evidence. They don't want the jury, and now it's a bench trial. They don't want this judge to know. It's a shit show. It is an absolutely shit show. But I'll tell you, they might get away with it in circuit court. That's okay. I'm appealing it, and I'll promise you, Sheriff, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm already holding you accountable in the court of public opinion. I'm embarrassing the fuck out of you, sir. I've got the evidence to prove it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to FOIA request my body cams. You're going to deny me the body cams. Okay, but I'm going to sue you for it. And Amy Ashworth, I think, just got fined $20,000 for not releasing body cams. Ma'am, I'm going to make sure I get my body cams. And every day we're going to talk about what the sheriff did, why he arrested me, and why I didn't have a fair trial in General District Court and in Circuit Court. I mean, they got me this lady. She refused. I mean, she wouldn't even look at me. That's how angry she was. She's angry at me. She's angry at my lawyer. And at one point, I kid you not, at one point, my lawyer would ask the sheriff a question. He has him on the stand. And the judge would reply for him. I've never seen, to the point where the lawyer is telling the judge, Your Honor, I'm talking to the sheriff. I've never seen anything like this. The sheriff is so confused, is looking at the prosecutor for an answer. I mean, the lawyer is asking him, Sheriff Glen Hill, what is your policy about the small public park? He said, I don't have it posted anywhere. It's in my head. It's an unwritten policy. None of his deputies know what the policy is. He doesn't even know what the policy is. He said 1 minute he says it's okay for someone to be there. 1 minute you can't be there. You can hold a sign as long as I'm okay with the sign. I didn't have a problem with his sign, but if he's holding a different sign, he can be there. Which one is it, sir? You clearly have a sign that I'm holding a sign that says Amy Ashworth, a jail board member, allows a private jail to murder inmates. You had a problem with that sign. And it's so clear. You're giving contradictory statements to who can be there, who can't be there. I mean, if you don't even know the policy, your deputies sure don't know the policy. How the hell am I gonna? How am I supposed to know your policy? It's ridiculous. It's out. It's so disturbing on so many levels. But what's disturbing is this judge sits there. Judge, what's her name? Jeanette Irby. Jeanette Irby. I've never seen. I mean, this judge is. I mean, lady, did you fuck your way to be a judge? I mean, is that how you become a judge? You sure sound like you have a relationship with this old man, calling himself a sheriff. I mean, you know, it's one thing if she's so angry. I've never met you in my life, lady. Last time I checked, we are in America and we do have a First Amendment. I mean, it's one thing if this is your personality, you have this stern personality that you don't like, lady. The way you flirt with the sheriff behind the bench is weird. I'm going to be honest with you. You're so friendly with the prosecutor. You're so friendly with the sheriff. Extra friendly with the sheriff. I mean, I don't know, ma'am. Does your husband know that you're fucking the sheriff? Judge Jeanette Irby. Lady, I'm going to make you my conversation. Every day I'm going to get on a podcast and we're going to get to know who you are, who you associate with. How the hell did you become a judge in our county? I mean, one of the most disturbing part about the whole entire case, I mean, there's so many disturbing parts. You have something in, there's a case law out of Supreme Court is where it's called a good faith argument. Stefana, help me out. You've been a paralegal for 20 years, just about. A good faith argument. A good faith argument is a case law out of the Supreme Court that if a police officer tell you you can't be here, they can't if you're not disorderly, which I'm not disorderly, I'm not being charged with disorderly. The sheriff says I'm not disorderly. The video shows I'm not disorderly. They cannot trespass you because you're in good faith believe that you have a First Amendment on that piece of property. That they literally cannot trespass you and charge you with trespassing. This is literally a case law out of the Supreme Court. Judge Jeanette Irby says, I'm not going to address or acknowledge that case law. Well, why the hell not, ma'am? Because, yeah. Stefana, it's unconstitutional to rule against that case law. And as a matter, the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court.
And there's also a thing called clean hands doctrine.
Yes, ma'am.
That they need to come into court with clean hands. That they have not done anything illegal or dishonest.
Exactly. You know, what's disturbing is this is on the record. Literally, this is on the record. In general district court, the judge literally says, I play golf with the sheriff. I own a building that I lease half of it to your previous attorney, Casey Stephen, that you that you had a problem with. Now, literally, at the end of the proceeding, he says, I believe in the case law that you are absolutely within the case law where a good faith argument does exist. But I'm going to rule you guilty. What do you mean? You just said the case law applies to me. And by the way, this is on the record. Jeanette Irby says, I'm not going to acknowledge that case law. Why? Why would you not acknowledge a case law that applies to this situation? It's unconstitutional for you to just not acknowledge that case law, which is the foundation of this case, and rule against every piece of evidence. Anyway, that's okay. Thank you for... I'm glad that this judge wants to include herself in my podcast. Ma'am, I'm going to make you the point of my podcast. You, the other judge, I mean, lady, what do you think I do for a living? I come on here, I talk about my brother and those individuals that are committing corruption in our county. And you just made it to the hallmark. Either way, whatever happened on the 19th, it's a shit show, and they're all corrupt. I'm going to appeal it to a higher court. Do these people not realize that this is on the record? For the love of God. I think, you know what they... Stupidity. I swear to God, you know what they bet on? That you're just simply going to go away. Maybe if we pretend like, you know those ostriches that puts their head in the sand and pretend that you do not exist? Maybe that if they just turn themselves into a bird, put their hand in the sand, Sheriff Glenhill, you might turn yourself into a bird, put your head in the sand, but you've got a diaper as big as, I mean, God damn it, sir. A 7-year-old man that wears a diaper. Now, I don't know what you're doing, sir. I'm not going away. Look up.
Can you make this a series?
Oh, it's definitely going to be a series.
I mean, all the way to the end of this whole.
You know, there is so much material. It's not even funny, and they're literally giving me the material. On that note.
Thank you, Omar.
Missy, I love you. Stefana, Farah, Casey, Mother, thank you for being here. I hope we were on our best behavior. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope.
It is never a boring podcast.
Not another boring podcast. I love the correctional officer that are going up to my brother telling him, we're watching your brother's podcast. It's called Just Another Ordinary Podcast.
Ordinary.